right, we are on round two with Derrick. um, Wanted to talk to you about the trend that's affecting SaaS stocks everywhere, best known as vibe coding. And I guess I don't. I don't know how to position this. I guess this is like an expose, if you will. We had some interesting conversations that I want to kind of rehash a little bit because it did give me some insight. So first of all, maybe give your kind of your opinion or on what the state of vibe coding where it sits right now.
Yeah, so I think it's I mean, depends on what you're doing. So it can do small things, it can do, you know, small chunks of a big thing, I guess. But it's not at the point of like, oh hey, just like, create me Facebook and it's gonna do everything and everything perfect. I think the main limitation is the token limit, which is like the context. So how much data it can load in. So like if you had like, say like a plan to build something and it was 27 pages long, it might be very hard. Like you might have to break it into different chunks and then put it together because it'll consume too many tokens. So, and then, you have these people think that it can just do everything because you have these companies that are saying that, which is they're kind of like faking it till they make it, which, I believe that eventually this will, happen, but it's not, there's a whole bunch of things right now. It's like you might save time with it coding, but then you're going to take more time debugging. So, unless you're very specific and really monitor it and understand, it's good for small things, it's good for MVPs, it's good for little projects, but I wouldn't say that it's enterprise grade or something you'd want to push to a production with, customers and sensitive data and that sort of thing. I don't think it's there. It's more like a helper, I would say. So like, okay, hey, go do this. You know what I mean? And then you check its work. But if you don't have the ability to check its work because you know nothing about coding, well, then that's a problem. Then you couldn't, is there an XSS vulnerability? Is it sharing the API keys in plain text? Is it not hashing the passwords? There's a million things. And so if you don't know what to look for, then, what can you do?
Talk about the kind of framework discussion that we had yesterday, because I thought that was really interesting, and I don't think most people would put that together. So let me just preface by saying I think there's kind of levels in the vibe coding game, and I'll put the consumer facing layer, like, so this is people like myself who are minorly technical, but not, I would I would never position myself as a programmer or somebody, I can go in and set DNS records, and I know enough to be able to look through code to look for certain things, but I'm not a coder at all, and I and that stuff slows me down. So I'm attracted to Lovable, Bolt, Hostinger. There's this class of what I would kind of equate to be consumer facing vibe coding apps that seem to, as you say, build me not build me Facebook, but particularly for website kind of, as you said, proof of concept, something. I have an idea, I register a domain, I can quickly get a website up and running. It's great for that. Mm-hmm. And I think I was thinking of it very much of it's creating all of this stuff with AI, but you had a really interesting insight into it that was kind of more of a UX layer over existing themes and frameworks and stuff. Maybe you could explain that to our viewers.
Yeah, so like most websites have certain pieces to them, right? So you have the login, you have maybe the article, the hero section, the content. And so anybody who's familiar with WordPress knows like, okay, hey, you can select this, or, like some theme builder, like say like Elementor or Divi, right? Where you can like select this, select that, select this. Well, not AI, but like Lovable and Bolt and these things, they have that in the back end for their AI. So when you're saying, okay, hey, I need to put a login flow, or I need to put a
Have
chat,
a leaderboard or a chat or make a blog here.
the AI is just pulling from, imagine the AI just controlling that Divi,
That Elementor
or yeah,
box,
Elementor,
essentially.
exactly. So it's more like the AI is an interface. So instead of using a mouse and clicking, or instead of typing and tabbing and using the arrow keys, you're telling it with the prompt, and then it's going and looking and then grabbing it and then setting it up. So I think those products, it's more the thing for beginners and for people who aren't programmers, is that it's just a new kind of it's a new user interface. So it's like, now instead of using my keyboard and mouse, I'm just telling it what I want it to do. And then in the background, the AI is then going, okay, we have a library of 50 different login things, or we have 50 different heroes, or da da da. And then it's like based on what you said, like, oh, I want a hero box at the top, or you might not even say hero. You might say, I want an image at the top, right? Like
Right.
other websites have. Like
Or just a website about this, and it knows a hero is a basic thing. Put a keyword in there that's related. Yeah, I found that it was kind of like a little light switch going off of like, oh yeah, that makes way more sense. That these products are really just a new user experience, more so than really new, where it's writing all the code for you. And especially, as you mentioned, the context window sort of problem. These programs would get very, very expensive if they weren't using those kinds of frameworks internally. Can you?
Well, it's like you said to you yesterday. I'll just close it off with that. Is you said about the social media links, and when you want to change them, it's consuming an AI credit. There's no way that they're using Anthropic or OpenAI for, like, they have some form of script that does that. Like, you don't need AI to do that. So it ends up that they're making it feel magical, and they're charging costs for all of these changes, but the big majority of them aren't even touching AI. It's just like, it's machine learning and some scripts, but yeah.
Derrick is talking about. I'm just going to share my window to show what you're talking about, because it is actually kind of funny. So I have been playing with all of these different tools, and the Sold With site is one of the ones that I've built using. I think this one's using Hostinger, but they're all they have similar overlap. But what he's talking about is these down here. The basic theme spits it out with LinkedIn. I didn't ask for social links, but at the bottom here you've got YouTube, Instagram. I found Twitter interesting because, of course, it's now X, but they still have a Twitter icon, and LinkedIn. And if I was in Elementor, of course, I could just click on each of these and put in my social address and have it done very quickly. But these, this is where you get into that product design stuff of, in order to change these, I individually have to say, update the LinkedIn one with this address, and then update I can't just update them through the interface and not have it cost me credits. And then, so this is where these systems are, there's this balance between, is it actually easier, or, because for some stuff, I mean, I will, just to show another example, we were talking about the building something for Zoho, for example, with the voice bots, and in within 15 minutes after talking about it, I was able to register a domain and just very quickly pop up a website that, obviously needs videos and more personalization and stuff. But in terms of just being able to say, hey, I've planted a flag, I'm able to do that very quickly. But of course, as you say, there's all this refinement stuff, including one of my one of my favorite things that's happened. I tried to put in a terms of service, and this became almost a full day of fighting with the AI, because my terms of service has 11 points in it, and as you can see here, it's reduced it to 9, and because the LLM is summarizing the stuff that I'm putting in, and no matter how many times I tell it, please don't change any of the text and remain exactly as is, I just, I don't know if I'm sure it's not intentional, but it wants to write its own terms of service, and it just can't handle the me placing text is going to be enough. It has to rewrite it, and of course, every time I'm trying to get it not to, and in the back of my head, I'm just thinking, if this was Elementor, so I could just copy paste the text in, we'd be done already. But no, I'm now battling with this AI system that wants to rewrite all my stuff.
To me, there's a couple things. One is that they all look the same, slightly different. It's using the same format kind of template. And then, so I think there's, and they probably do it. Probably Elementor has an AI agent built into it. I wouldn't be surprised. Divi probably does too. So I think that, really the powerful one would be a hybrid. So it's the AI agent that you can talk to, but it's actually using the library from Divi or from Elementor. So then you could click on it. So it's doing it as if you. Do you understand what I'm saying?
It's being an actual assistant as opposed to trying to create a new
right.
workflow,
but then that's actual work, and the whole thing of AI that they're selling to consumers is you don't have to work. You just tell it, and then it does it. And it's eventually it might get there, but it's not there yet. And these are the simple little things. And the reason why you can't click on it is because that page is just probably HTML, and it doesn't have the mechanics to actually edit, right? The AI is just making the page based on what you said, but it doesn't have the mechanics to edit. There's more code involved to be able to.
It's almost more frustrating because they've created some edit capability, but for example, this was a page that I got very frustrated with because of that. And so I have these upcoming events, and I could go into edit mode and change the headline, but the text in the description wasn't editable. So I needed to use a credit to edit those, but not the titles for some reason. And so these very arbitrary kind of, which again, I'm sure is just the product, maturity versus.
No, it's just the fact that they're selling a solution, and they don't want to make it look stupid, but it is
stupid.
Yeah, it doesn't have a brain. It just I don't know how to, all I'll say is that it's just not there yet. It might get there to that point, or they might just introduce it. But I would see that for somebody like yourself, who's more an advanced, so if my mom was on it, okay, cool, right? Okay, she just talks to it. She doesn't know how to use WordPress. She doesn't know how to. For someone like you who's built many websites with WordPress over the years, an AI agent in WordPress to me would seem more efficient, because then it's hey, build me the page. Then you can go in and then you can just fix where you don't like it, or say, hey, I don't want to use this block. I want to use this block, right? So imagine if it was a hybrid between that, right? Then I think for somebody who knows about WordPress it would be very efficient because it would spit it out, but it would use the blocks. Everything would have been editable. You could have even just grabbed it and go, I don't like those icons. It's showing Twitter. Oh, look, Elementor has 20 other icons.
Four
Oh,
other kits I can,
Let me drag that in, right? Instead of you going, hey, can you switch this for like? It's just it's good.
I'm guessing somebody must be working on this because you're right. It is that's a much more natural layer, especially for somebody who, like you say,
I'm pretty sure Elementor probably has it. You could probably pay them, use their theme, and they probably have an AI agent. Like it's just a natural fit. I haven't looked at it, but I'm just.
Yeah,
I would be very surprised if they don't.
If they don't now, they're certainly working on it. Is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. Can we? So let's move up the food chain a little bit, if you will, and talk about code, like vibe coding in Claude Code or Codex or these professional tools that programmers are using, and how that's affecting programming. Does the same sort of context window stuff exist there, or what's your assessment on the vibe coding tools at the higher up the stack, shall we say, using an IDE and plugging into the API of Claude, for example? That seems to be the leader right now in this. Is Claude Code. What's your assessment of using Claude Code to build enterprise systems?
It's similar to what I'm saying, but only it's like you said, it's a different layer. So instead of saying, hey, build me a website that looks like this website or explaining it, you can use it to say, refactor this JavaScript, script. Or like, hey, I have a library for authentication and I need to add Twitter login to it or something like that. So it could do stuff like that. But it's the same thing. It's like if you get too deep into it, like if you're just like, you have 100,000 lines of code and you're like, hey, I want you to do this, and it has to like read and understand the full website. That's where you run into the same problems of how many tokens it's using, the context, and so it's good as a helper. There's a lot of things that it can do that is good, but it's not a magic bullet. So you have to check it too, right? Like, because it can just do things that like it wants to do. Like what the main thing I've seen from AI is that it likes to please you. So it's like there's this layer built into it, like a marketing layer, that I wish that you could just pull out. Like I'd rather it just be like, I don't know how to do that, or like I'd rather be truthful, but sometimes it feels like there's some form of layer in the main prompt from these companies where it's trying to satisfy you. Right?
Would you like me to do it this way? How about I?
You're absolutely right. Like Claude,
right.
Like I forget what it is. Like what? Like hold on, let me just Google it.
Well, it's the same with Lovable and these guys. Like you'll say, embed this video. It says, okay, it's working great. And you're like, no, it's not. It's not working. Like, oh, you're absolutely right. It's not working. Let me retry that.
Exactly.
Redo it again.
But the Lovable and stuff is just built off of that. So it doesn't, like, anyways. So, like, look it. I just typed in, what's Claude's favorite saying? You're absolutely right. Certainly, of course. Let's dive right in. But this one here is the most infuriating. I told you not to refactor or touch anything else and just do this. You're absolutely right. Da 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 da. Like, so it's like this layer is infuriating to me because it's like I don't need that, but I understand what, like, because I'm a marketer, I understand what they're doing, but it's just like that's where. So it's like I don't know. Anyways, to get to your point, yes, it definitely helps developers. And if you know how to use it and you're using it and then you're auditing the code that it's spitting out and making sure that it's, and you're giving it small chunks not just letting it run through. Like, you ask it to do something, it can't do it, it tries to do this. Oh, let me try this way. Okay, well, let me just try the nuclear way. I've heard it say that before. Let me just try the nuclear way that's going to work. And then all of a sudden you see that, oh, it's edited 26 files to do something simple. And then you're like, what the hell?
What's going on with those other 26
Yeah, now you have
files?
to look at it. So a lot of people, they'll say that, you know, it saves time on the development, but then on the bug detection and the actual, you know, looking at it after to see like what's going on, that it takes more time. So it's like, it's kind of like just swung the pendulum in like, okay, I can code really quick with it, but then now I have to debug more because I don't know, because, you know, this isn't working, or this is working, it's working 90%, but then there's this bug that's doing this that it can't get, and now you have to look through its code, and then, so, you know, I would say that it's good at small tasks. It's good at, it's like having a junior dev that you can give menial tasks and then check its work. Or you could even build like another agent, an agent that codes and then an agent that checks its work, and, you know, but like the main thing is the token limit.
I guess actually before I move us, explain the token window and why it matters from a code base point of view. You were telling me basically it can't hold on something. So as you know, we have a lot of cannabis dispensary owners in our audience. You know, the dream, of course, is I'll be able to program my own Kova and stuff and stop having to pay Greenline or Trees or whatever point of sale that you feel that you're being gouged by. You know, how viable is it for you to just go, I'm going to vibe code my own solution here?
It's not viable at all. Because, like, you have to know, if you don't know what it's doing, like, if you don't know where it's messing up, then you can't fix it, right? It's like, meaning like, think of a mechanic that you bring your car to, and he's not a good mechanic, and the problem is it won't start. So instead of just like, you know, where would you start first? You'd start like maybe checking the battery. No, you would start with the battery first,
True.
right? And so instead of that, the mechanic changes the starter.
The starter. You come to me.
Right away, right? Like, oh, let's not check the battery. Oh,
let's do the $600 starter motor, not the $100 battery.
The ignition lock, or if you got push button, he changes the push button. Then he changes the electrical. He's like, oh, well, maybe it's the wiring harness. So he changes all these expensive stuff, and then it turns out, oh, it was just the battery. Then he gives you the bill for all these parts that he's changed, when it was just the battery, which would have cost you a couple $100. Instead, it costs you thousands of dollars because he changed all. So he's basically just like changing until it works. And that's right. How I feel like what AI sometimes does. And it can really, so the point is that if you don't know what to look for. So especially in, you know, let's break down what Kova does, right? So it's holding your customer information, as well as credit cards, you know, their name, address, could have their identification if you're using something to verify that they're of age on your website. So all of this, if there's a data breach or a leak because AI forgot to add some safety measures or save things in a directory that's open to the public, and you don't know to look for these things, well then now you're liable, right? And then now it's like, you know, you have a dispensary, it's a good dispensary, maybe you have a bunch of locations, you have 100,000 clients, and now all of their driver's license got leaked. Remember that one time we were working on the product, Riel, and it wasn't about AI, but it was about, we were working on something, and I forget what it was called, Performa or something. It's an industry standard identity checker. What was it called again? Let me see.
Proxima. Yeah, I know. No, Persona.
Persona. Yeah, it was called Persona. And Riel and I were working on a website, and he was like, hey, you know, like, how do you like Persona? And I'm like, oh, wow, it's really cool and stuff. And then we were looking at the website, and it was like basically like it was saving all of the ID pictures into an open directory that was open to the public. So it was like, so like these things can happen, and then like if some hacker or somebody finds that, or even it's open to the public, it gets indexed by Google or something. It's like in Google Images. Hey, there's my ID. Like
there's my ID in Google Images.
That can shut down your whole dispensary. Like it's hard to recover from that, right? So, or even worse, credit card numbers get leaked, right? Because I mean, like think about the information that you're saving. You're saving their birth date, their picture of their ID, selfie of them. Their address is on the thing. Like this is sensitive information. So can AI build it? Maybe. But can you be sure that there's no problems? No,
And more importantly, do you know how to check for them?
Well, that's the thing. It's like if you don't know how to check, then how can you know? So I don't know. I think it's more like an accelerator for somebody who knows what they're doing. So then they can make sure, and they know, like even when you use AI, it says right on it, Claude Code can make mistakes. Like it's like that's the
check your work
right on the bottom. Right? So if you can't check for those mistakes, then But like say you're making a website for your mom's knitting service. Go ahead, right? Like, or if you're not collecting any sensitive information, what's the worst that can happen, right? Nothing, right? So.
Your inventory of yarn got leaked.
Right. Or it's like, your kids shovel snow in the winter, so you want to make them a thing. You don't want to collect money from, you don't want to connect it to Stripe or collect money from it. You just want to advertise their service and maybe have a form or a calendar where they can book in. Okay, like what's the worst that happens if that website gets hacked? Nothing. So, but when you talk about, recreating Kova, I wouldn't recommend it.
I wouldn't recommend it. You're gonna need deeper tech chops.
Yeah, and then what you were saying about like the context is it's just like it can only take in so much information at once. So think about it like a brain, right? Like a human brain. It's like you can only remember so much, right? Like I forget what it is, but like it's like you can only remember so many people, So like if you've met 10,000 people, you're not going to remember everything about the 10,000 people. So the same thing is with AI. It's not that it's not that it's not probably capable. Like you could probably turn that way up, but what it is it cost effective, and is the services offering that? And then so like there's hacks around it to like, you can use apps that can like save in context and like. Or you could use like MD files that.
I was just gonna say, I know with Claude Code, a lot of it is like having an MD file that is, has the kind of summary of the context that it.
Yeah,
but
sometimes it ignores it. That's the thing. So like sometimes you're gonna have like 1, 2, 3 different MD files, and you're gonna be like, hey, when you do this, do this. When you do this, do this. And you can do that. And it even has like planning mode where it could plan it, but it doesn't always follow it. So it's like. If you don't know, you're like, hey, why are you doing this? You know what I mean? If you're not kind of babysitting it, then there's no guarantee it's just going to follow the MD files all the time. Like, it won't. So that's the...
And more to the point, it can't hold the entire code base in its memory is what you're saying. So the... if I'm working on that one file over here, I don't know how that's going to affect these other modules necessarily. Is the problem the classic when you're doing programming? I mean, before AI, you'd fix something here and something over here would bust because it was connected, but you didn't actually realize it until after you'd made those changes or whatever. That's just amplified, you're saying, by the lack of context window. Even with these bigger plans, like I'm paying $300 or something, but it's still a finite amount of room, basically.
Exactly. So you got to use it more. Like surgically, right? Like you got to say like, hey, edit this file, or like you have to have it in your head what you're trying to achieve, and then let it do small parts, right? But if you just think like you could have worked on something yesterday, it could create it, and then now you get in, starts using all the context. You're doing something else, and then all of a sudden, the things that it learned yesterday, it doesn't mean it's going to remember today unless you load them back in. So, but then it can only hold so much. So it's like as the code base gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, it gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Unless you know, are making it in steps, right? Like unless you're like, hey, do this, right? Only do this, do this, right?
And even then, you would say do each of the modules effectively separately, and then be putting them together, as opposed to allowing the AI agent to manage the whole thing.
Yeah, and then like in an MD file, you might have like the API endpoints, what's available, da 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 da. Like reference that because we're creating this, and then so yeah, it's now we're getting into where this isn't just what Lovable and Bolt are trying to make it. Hey, I want a website that looks like this and da da da, and I want it to look like GoDaddy website, or I want it to look like whatever, right? I want to make a news site and I want it to look like CNN. Okay, it goes out, looks at CNN in a browser. Okay, yeah, then makes you a layout similar to it, right? So you're now getting away from that where you're more technical in telling it what to do technically, right? So which can save you time, of course. So I said, it's still a good tool. It's just it's not there yet.
It's not the magic bullet that people seem to kind of want it to be.
Yeah, they just think, oh, well, it's AI, so I should just be able to
just tell it to build it, and
I
it
even
builds
have
it.
people when they test stuff, like when they test, like say I'm creating an outbound voice agent or an inbound, and then they'll like sit there and call it and ask it stupid questions because they just like in their head they think it's like a human or something. Like I don't know what they think. They try to they want to hear people want to hear it like as if it's like a human. You know what I'm saying? And they want it to act like that, but it's like really it's not. No one's asking it those stupid questions.
It's still a fancy if-then kind of
exactly
trigger. if it doesn't know what to respond, it's not.
We're not at that point yet. Will we get there? We could get there in 3 months. We could get there in a year. We could get there in 2 years. It's going to keep getting better, and it is getting better. Every 3 months, it's getting better. So, eventually, this podcast that we're having might be irrelevant. Because it might be that, oh yeah, I can do it now. And it actually does, it's AGI and it actually does think and it actually can do, there is these limitations that the token context is at 10 million or 100 million tokens you can use at once, So it can hold the code base of most projects in its context window,
Well, and then will it still be? So I guess the upshot basically is that the fears that coders won't be needed anymore, and all of these companies that are laying off all their programmers. You're saying this is early or right unfounded, now. Essentially.
I mean, Salesforce laid off 3,000 people, and then they were complaining about it a couple months later. So and Salesforce was all in. The CEO's famous for saying, he's not the CEO of just people; he's the CEO of agents too, right? So,
sounds like a liability problem for when your agents go rogue.
Let's see.
Looking for quotes there.
Yeah, laid off.
I thought Dharmesh recently made a funny post, which was that Lovable was one of the customers of HubSpot, and that that they weren't going anywhere, and if Lovable isn't building their own HubSpot, then the fears that every company is going to go out and build their own CRM custom is probably unfounded.
It is unfounded. So look at this. Salesforce reportedly regretted laying off 4,000 employees to replace them with AI after encountering significant, unproven reliability issues with their new systems. Reports suggest executives were overconfident in AI's current capabilities, leading, as one report mentions, a 55% increase in regret among companies employing similar AI-driven layoffs. However, the company has officially stated it did not lay off 4,000 employees, but rather rebalanced its headcount to support sales. So,
Yeah, sure you did.
yeah, whatever. But yeah, so
So
it's like that's it, right? It's like having that delusion. So like right now, you know, developers are safe. You should implement AI into your daily life, but you should, you know, you still need the person who has the competency to check it and make sure that the code is good. You don't need that, then maybe you can lay all these people off, and then maybe there will be a big problem. But right now, there's no way somebody who doesn't know what to look for can just ship, enterprise grade code that deals with sensitive information and it be okay. And, you know, I'm sure there's going to be lawsuits about this. Like, hey, I vibe coded this thing and, you know, now there's a data breach. I mean, that can put
who's responsible for that data breach under that?
you should have known, right?
Yeah.
It's just like anything that you're responsible for and that you have insurance against. There's things you got to do, and vibe coding is not. In a court of law, it's like, could you have done something? Like, is it the safest it could be? It's like drugs. Like if you're making, drugs, say a diabetes medicine or mood stabilizer or something. It's like, the main suit is that you didn't make it as safe as it could be because you could have did this or you could have added this or you shouldn't have used this quality, you should have used this, right? And that's the main suit in the court of law of it. So it's going to be the same for this. It's like, you could have hired a coder to audit your vibe coded project, but you didn't. You just shipped it, and now we have this mess. Who's
Right.
responsible? You are, because you
So
did.
so you just gave me my next transition, which was what I was going to say. There is, however, a shift happening where I think a lot of these SaaS companies have kind of maxed out the packages and the pricing strategies and stuff to the point where it's become so expensive and you're spending so much money. If you're a bigger company, if you're a small 5-person operation or whatever, this is not what we're talking about. But if you're somebody who has 50 or 100 employees and you're starting to look at your Salesforce bill or your HubSpot bill or these things, when you're into thousands, when you're spending 75 grand a year on your software licenses or some of these are into the hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, how viable, what's the strategy there then, if not to vibe code your own solution?
Yeah, so I mean, I have lots of customers like this, and they're sick of, because it's like any business. How it works is it starts off, you're able to get in contact with the owners, you're able to work with them, you're able to say, hey, I think this would be good, and like they end up shipping it in 2 weeks, because they're a startup. Then they start to grow, and then private equity might come in, or they go public. They're so big now it takes like months, if not years, to ship a new idea, and this is just what happens with businesses, right? And so the thing is that a lot of these SaaS products are predatory in a sense that they give you this massive discount. Like HubSpot, if you're a startup, you can get like 90% discount. So it's like and then because they know that once you get your customer data in there, you integrate it into your workflow, all your employees are using it, it's very hard to get off of it. So what happens is, you're on a, say, $2,000 plan per month, right? And that's a small plan for a small company, but it's still like very expensive. So you're on a $2,000 plan, but they're giving you 90% off, so you're only paying $200 for the first year. And so you're like, okay, then all of a sudden it's like, bam, now it's like 2,000 or more because you've hired more employees and stuff. So now you're paying them like 15,000. And
Or you're
instead
going
of,
up the, now I've added the marketing suite where before
right.
I was just using the CRM. And
Yeah, and
so
then
that,
it's just too much. And this is the thing is like these micro kind of transactions that SaaS companies have been doing. It's not. It's not. It's too much. Like it's just too much. And people are like, that's what people are saying now. It's like that's why they go from like HubSpot to like a Zoho. Like Zoho offers a huge kind of discount, right? So, the main thing is there's,
or,
yeah, or
or they
yeah,
call up somebody like Derrick, and this is, of course, the transition to our offering here is if you are frustrated with trying to vibe code somebody and you need a professional to audit it, or better yet, somebody to take over the building process. I guess this is where we feel there's an opportunity for companies that are starting to feel the SaaS pinch that, let's do a little economic analysis here that it might actually be more profitable for you to replace those systems with in-house systems that are built specifically to your business and don't have 30 other features that you're not necessarily using but paying for.
yeah. I would say that the advantage is you get to tailor something exactly to your processes, how you do the work. So it's and add the features that these big companies you send them. You're on Service Titan, you're on Podium, you're on any of these big companies. You send them and a message, hey, we want to add this, and it's like 12 months later, it's still not added. I have customers like that, so then it's like, okay, let's just build it the way that you want it, optimize it for your workflow, and then stop paying these monthly fees because now you're just paying for maintenance and maybe a server cost, right? So you're paying probably 5 to 10% of what you were paying once it's developed, and it's developed exactly how you want it. So everybody who's using HubSpot or Salesforce, they're like, yeah, we got to be on it because we got to use it, but I really hate how it does this, or I really hate how it does this. Well, now you don't have to say that. It's just develop it exactly how you want it. And this pays for itself very quickly with these high SaaS bills, by the time it's you go, okay, we need this, we need Salesforce, then we need this plugin, then we need this, and all of a sudden it's 10, 30,000 a month that you're paying these three services, and you may be able to just develop something and then cut those costs.
Yeah, so if you head over to softwareyouown.com, we have got a very, very basic little calculator, but you can see your average kind of, let's say, $39 per seat, which is a typical price point. If you have, say 150 employees, you're looking at annual SaaS costs around $72,000 a year. And of course, as you say, once you're on these things, you're not getting off. So maybe over those 5 years, you're gonna add another 10% to your employees. So that bill is just gonna keep going up, and so then, even though it's a higher cost in the initial outlay to build your own custom system, it very quickly within a year or so becomes a cost saving that you're putting back on your bottom line.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time. I guess I would say to people, if you're curious about this, the other side of this, of course, is the voice answering stuff. But if you call 1-226-242-1077, you'll be able to tell our service agent a little bit about the software that you're using, and our beautiful agent will set up an appointment to have a chat with myself and Derrick, and you'll get to experience the better voice technology of Derrick's systems.
Awesome.
All right. Well, again, thank you very much for your time today, and I'll talk to you soon.